I worked with a real life 40-year-old virgin. Well, almost. Technically, he was 41, and technically he had sex one time many, many years ago with a friend when they were drunk. And I won't go into the details of that experience, but trust me when I say it didn't go well and the friendship suffered. What I am going to tell you about is this man's brutally long dry spell after losing his virginity. And of course, I'm going to share with you how we got him the hell out of it. Let's call him Brian. My client was actually a super average guy. Average height, average weight, average job, income, penis size, you name it. He had a solid group of friends, and if you ever saw him like out at a bar, you would never think that he was in the midst of a 20-year dry spell. But on the inside, Brian felt like he was beyond repair. I mean, he felt broken. He desperately wanted to have sex again, but he had no idea how. And the couple of close friends that knew about his situation told him it's just like riding a bike. But what if you only tried riding a bike once in your late teens, you fell off it, you broke your arm, and then you felt ashamed about the experience for 2 decades? Well, it'd be a little bit more difficult to get on the bike, right? Despite it all, Brian was brave enough to sign up for coaching with me. So what did we uncover during our time together? Before I get into exactly how to pull yourself out of a dry spell and into a satisfying sex life, it is important that we start with how to identify what a dry spell is and what caused it. Simply put, a dry spell is a prolonged period without sexual activity. But that's not the only thing to know about it, because dry spells often come along with feelings of frustration, loneliness, inadequacy. Everyone's sexual needs are different, and identifying a dry spell has a lot to do with noticing when those negative feelings kick in. For some, this may happen after a few months without sex, but for others, it might stretch into years. And dry spells aren't just reserved for single people, by the way. Many of the clients that I have worked with haven't been intimate with their wives for 10 or 15 years. Obviously, breaking a dry spell in a marriage is slightly different from what I helped Brian with, but there is a lot of overlap. So if that's you, stay tuned. Because even though dry spells can occur in different scenarios, the common denominator is a lack of satisfying sexual intimacy. Regardless of the specifics of your dry spell, the most meaningful step that you can take when it comes to getting back in the game is to identify why. If you've been following my channel for a while, then you know how deeply our sexualities are connected to the rest of our lives. Each of our sexual and relational identities are like snowflakes. No two are alike. So even a dry spell is going to be shaped by a deeper, more unique and personal narrative. Renowned relationship expert Esther Perel emphasizes that our intimate relationships often mirror our deepest self-beliefs and past experiences. No matter what you look like, what you do for a living, how much experience you have, you're capable of having a fantastic sex life, whether you believe it or not. When it came to addressing Brian's dry spell, the first step was to untangle the stories that he was telling himself about sex. And as his coach, it was my job to help Brian understand the roots of his dry spell, how it took hold in the foundation underneath him. At first, he talked about how he hadn't had any luck with women. He talked about his average looks and income. I mean, he truly felt that women only wanted to marry up and that they weren't interested in men like him. Plus, most of them are so independent now, they actually don't need a man at all. Eventually, I asked him about his parents' relationship and what it was like for him growing up, and that's when things really got interesting. You see, together we uncovered that Brian's mom was very controlling, and she was the dominant force in the household. She lorded over him and his dad, and she made them both feel small and emasculated. He wasn't allowed to go on dates or have girls into the house, and his mother was also very conservative and very staunchly against masturbating. So much so that she had his dad take off his bedroom door so that he could actually never have any privacy. Privacy that he needed as a young boy growing up and exploring his body. So as he grew into manhood, he brought with him this deep-seated resentment towards his mom. And through our coaching, he realized that that had deeply impacted his beliefs about women. And he was stuck between his intense desire to connect with women, both sexually and romantically, and a paralyzing fear that he would end up being abused and mistreated by any woman that he got close to. And once he understood the subconscious thoughts that were driving his actions, he was able to start processing, challenging, and reprogramming them. He was able to start feeling safer around women and let go of that fear. And women picked up on that energy. Now, look, I am not saying that your dry spell is because of your mom, but I invite you to consider that you don't know what you don't know. Let's talk about my tips for breaking a dry spell. Although you can make progress on this deep work on your own, it is the most effective to work with a professional, whether that's a coach in a one-on-one setting or in a group. And in addition to that work, there are some simpler and manageable and effective things that anyone who wants to break their dry spell should start doing right now. Tip number 1, boost your confidence. Okay, roll your eyes. Caitlin, duh, if I could boost my confidence, I would. The reason I don't have confidence is because I'm stuck in a dry spell. Stay with me, okay? If you are trying to feel good about getting into bed with someone, the best thing you can do is work on feeling good about yourself. And there are lots of ways to boost your confidence. It is not rocket science, but it all boils down to taking care of yourself and treating yourself like someone who you care about. Nourish and move your body. Do things that bring you pleasure. Challenge yourself to learn a new skill so that you can have the experience of getting better at something. All of these things go a super long way in making you feel more confident. Brian dedicated himself to cooking most of his meals at home. He started putting in some more effort to getting dressed in the morning, and he started to look at himself as someone who was worth taking care of. And this slowly but surely built up his self-esteem. Which brings me to number 2, get social. Learning to get comfortable socializing with new people platonically is a great way to warm up for approaching a romantic interest. It's normal to be a little nervous, but putting yourself outside of your comfort zone one bit at a time and meeting new people, both men and women, is a huge step towards breaking a dry spell. Join a club, go to meetups, go to a bar or a cafe alone and just make it your goal to meet new people. You never know where you're going to cross paths with someone. Too many of the men that I work with think they need to go from 0 to 100, that they need to go from single and not having any recent interactions with women that they're attracted to like hitting on women at a bar. That's a huge leap. Start with friends, start with people who you relate to, people who look like you, who feel like you, who have the same interests of you, and build up from there. Number 3, practice self-compassion. Most of us could take this hint and be a little kinder to ourselves. When it came to Brian, he had to stop shaming himself for his dry spell and instead hold himself with love and understanding, and also be gentle to himself. Besides being healing, being nicer to yourself is actually a critical step in becoming more attractive to others. Too many of us wait for someone else to let us know that we are worthy, or for them to start taking care of us, instead of taking care of ourselves and understanding that that will attract people who see that we're worthy. Number 4, get professional help. I'm going to repeat it. Working with a professional gives you the support that you need, as well as a clear roadmap to address your issues. Most of us are so stuck in our story, our beliefs about ourselves and the world, that we actually can't see the ways that we're holding ourselves back, and therefore we can't actually see the path forward. Brian was able to get the guidance that he needed through our work together, and that allowed him to address his deep emotional issues, stuff that he could not have faced alone. And if you can't afford therapy or one-on-one coaching, I totally get it. Making coaching accessible is one of the main reasons that I created my program, Hard As You Want. Yes, it is about being able to get and sustain an erection, especially when you are with a new lover, but it also includes the exact steps that I walk my clients through one-on-one to help them feel sexually confident so they can get and stay hard in any circumstance with any woman, no matter what. Number 5, mind your health. If you are not feeling physically healthy, it is difficult to thrive in other ways. It all starts with the body. The body's the foundation of everything. If there's anything in the way of your body feeling good, it's probably stopping your mind and your emotional body from feeling good as well. So getting checked up and addressing any underlying health concerns goes such a long way. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be in perfect health. You may be diabetic or have another chronic condition. It just means managing it and optimizing your well-being around it. That brings me to number 5, educate yourself. Knowledge is power, and Brian empowered himself by learning about his own sexuality and his relationships. Education, including how to get better at sex and be an awesome lover, helped reduce his anxieties and helped him approach his journey with knowledge and confidence. Knowing and understanding yourself is the first step towards loving yourself. Loving yourself better represents yourself better to others. At the end of the day, a dry spell, the onset of loneliness, anxiety around sex, lowering self-esteem, often indicates that something in your life that's very deep is out of alignment. And as much as a new diet and some journaling can help put some pep in your step, and it really can, untangling the deeply rooted things that are holding you back is the only way to overcome sexual dissatisfaction attraction for good. The most important thing to note here is that through his work, Brian stopped feeling like a victim. He took responsibility for himself and his life, and through that, he regained power. He no longer felt that women were in control of his happiness and his sexual fulfillment, and he came to realize that he could actually make himself very attractive to women by making himself feel good and healthy and satisfied by himself. He is now happily dating around, and he has had sex with multiple women with great success since then. He stopped putting up the barriers. Women started seeing him as confident, and he became the sexually desirable man that he really was all along. Breaking a dry spell is about so much more than simply having sex again. It's about addressing all of the underlying issues that led to the dry spell in the first place and fostering healthier relationships with women. It is a lot of work, but it is worth it because you are worth it. If you want to learn more about how I can help, or you want to check out my course, Hard As You Want, that contains my cutting edge coaching modalities and the things that I have developed helping hundreds of clients to stay hard, and perform when they want, check out the links in the description. In the meantime, I'm Caitlin V. Thank you so much for diving in with me today, and I'll see you next week.